Give me a
Yeah.
time frame, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years before robots enter the home. And I'm not talking about Roombas. I'm talking about who's doing my laundry.
So companies like Figure and Elon Musk's company are saying that they'll be able to do kind of those kinds of things within 5 years. But the thing Matt talks about, Matt Chang, is that they don't have right now the solution to making it affordable. Mm-hmm. And having the kind of power that's needed to do your laundry and, clean and do all the things that we would want them to do. Now, between now and then, there's going to be a lot better ways to clean your floor than there are now, or a lot better ways to do individual tasks. And those innovations will happen over the next 3 years. And so a lot of things that will be affordable will happen. The question is whether the humanoid in your home is going to be both affordable and really worthwhile.
Matt's waiting for Rosie.
I'm waiting for Rosie. I've been waiting for Rosie for 44 years. Let's go! Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the professor, Luigi Rosabianca. Not only do I have a professor with me, but we got a doctor today. Lou, tell them about the doctor we have on tap.
Matt, I am relinquishing my crown. I am not the professor today. Today, we have the real professor. We have Don Capener on the podcast. And you know what? Don is a special person because professors have this reputation of those that can do and those that don't profess. But no. Don did it, and now he's teaching the next generation how to do it. Don, welcome to the podcast. We have so much to talk about, but let's start with your career. You have been in tech and fintech for your entire career, but you don't even have a background. Like, where did you get this curiosity to be a tech marvel without even a computer science or engineering degree?
So I did a lot of doing and made a lot of mistakes. So what the first kind of real tech thing that I did was I joined a startup called Netcentives that went public via Credit Suisse in end of 1999, beginning of 2000, right during the meltdown of all the internet bubble. And I was the chief marketing officer for that company. And wild ride for your entrepreneur audience, because it's classic. I had 100,000 shares, options that I had exercised. And when it went public, it went up to $94 a share. And I was locked down for 180 days. By the time I could sell, the internet bubble had happened, and I averaged about $12, $15 a share, and finally exited that company. But I was all with engineers and technologists, and we did the first digital currency using airline miles. Miles. We distributed them to everyone online as incentive for purchasing books, all kinds of things, technology products, subscriptions, that kind of thing. But we did a pivot, which was really interesting, which was, it really didn't catch on. E-commerce wasn't working. So companies used them as employee incentives and gave millions of miles to, a programmer or somebody to join Netscape. And then they could fly around the world and do all this stuff, and it wasn't taxed until the IRS caught on to it. And then things imploded. So anyway, that's kind of how I originally got into tech, from marketing into tech. And since then, it's kind of been a wild ride. I did some consulting with PayPal after that, during the phase when they were trying to bring on new, I'll call them ways to basically use the PayPal platform. And they only had eBay as a way to make money, basically. And I helped that with the strategy to get Southwest, Dell, and other merchants because I had worked so much with Visa. And so anyway, that's a little bit of my tech background and how I earned. I call it it's the bunch of hard knocks. A little bit about tech over the last 25 years.
So you're essentially part of the extended PayPal mafia.
Yes, exactly. How to extend that model and make it, and Venmo's the new way to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the new way to extend that same platform.
So let me ask you this. You're in tech. It's early 2000s, 1999. Let's talk about apparel because you were there before, after? Definitely before, right? Because you created a brand I used to wear all the time and sold it off to Reebok above the rim. Talk to us about that.
Yes.
How do you make a shift from making basketball clothes into technology? Because that's insane.
I'll admit it's a crazy shift, but the idea was we had a marketing agency. We had some local clients in San Diego, California. We actually became the third or fourth largest agency in San Diego before Above the Rim became well known. And but we were both basketball players. My brother and I were partners in the company. His name's Robert Capener, and we wanted to do something with basketball, and we wanted it to be hardcore and cool and something that actual players wanted to wear. So we sponsored Gus Macker in the Midwest and other 3-on-3 tournaments. We created a kind of the first all-star high school tournament during Christmas. We got some athletes. We had Dominique Wilkins from the Atlanta Hawks, and we were one of the first apparel advertisers on ESPN. They'll tell you.
What year is this?
We did some really crazy stuff early on.
Yeah, this had to be late 80s, early 90s if you had Dominique.
That was late 80s. That was late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. Yes. And it was before, and all the and ones and everyone who copied us was kind of a reflection of, wow, something is happening here. And so, that's the greatest compliment a company can have is to be copied by folks.
So, in
where did the name Above the Rim come from? Sorry.
The name Above the Rim was the connotation that if you play above the rim, you are at an elite level. And so it was really more of a sense that the people who aspire to or already play at a high level. That was the idea.
I love it. In 1994, a movie came out called Above the Rim. Did you have anything to do with that?
That's correct. Yeah. So we didn't sponsor or do that. That was through, a license through Reebok to, work with them. That was after the acquisition. But my brother was involved some because he had become the director of basketball. You could see that. And he was sort of the Sonny Vaccaro, but maybe not in the same way that you saw the Nike movie about. And so he was also really involved in that era up to maybe 1995. And he was living back in Stoughton, Massachusetts, Boston area, working at corporate.
So, I mean, you can make an argument saying that's like one of the brands, and first of all, your brand, then the movie, but then made Shaq famous, right? Shaq.
Oh, yeah. My brother is the one who originally, he signed Shaq. He signed Shaq to Reebok. Yes, he was the one. So
that's awesome. So, all right. So now we go into tech, and now we're in robotics. Give us what you're working on now.
Yeah. So in 2017, Chang Robotics was founded by Matthew Chang, and he happened to have been a student of mine at Jacksonville University, where I was the dean of business. So I've been dean of 3 different schools: Marshall University in West Virginia. I've been dean at Jacksonville University, and also I've been a dean at Utah Valley University. And as the professor knows, that's like herding cats. That is not a position a lot of people aspire to, because professors are kind of independent contractors. So I'm always looking to connect to real opportunities. And one of my students had started this company, and he came to me and said, "Hey, we're doing all this work helping companies automate and doing autonomous systems using robotics and other things, but we want to add a strategy consulting side to our business because we don't want to be considered a subcontractor or a vendor. We want to take things up and work with the C-level folks.
So, Professor,
Can
one
you
second.
help me do that?
When
And can
Matthew-
we come up with a strategy to do that? And then can we productize our company and actually develop our own intellectual property, our own products?" And so that was the vision originally that brought me into Chang Robotics.
So when Matthew Chang was sitting in your classroom, did you see that glimmer in his eye while he was a student? Or when he approached you 10 years later, it was like, "Who are you, kid?"
I did. I saw some brilliance and, a unique attitude. I mean, he was out there. He would say, "Hey, I don't make any excuses. I look at the world with a biblical view, and I also, I'm an engineer with the Georgia Tech degree behind my name, but I've learned how in different countries to be licensed, to make things happen, to work with C-level folks." And I thought, wow, this, if things come together and the timing is right, this could be big.
Professor, let's do a deep dive there because I think there's something important about what you just said. If a vendor becomes transactional and is transactional, that relationship is a revolving door. But if a vendor is a strategist and you become a partner, there has to be more longevity there. So explain to us how Chang Robotics becomes a partner with the businesses they cooperate with.
That's such a good point, because what happens is that you have an audience of a lot of, let's call them mid-sized businesses and some startups. And as they work with enterprise-sized companies, naturally they say, "You're a vendor." And they actually register as a vendor, and they're happy to do it because it's a start. They're working with large companies, and it's a way to basically make your year revenue-wise. But here's the issue: if you're seen as a vendor, you are seen as someone who can take some specs, get a job done, and then see you later, basically. And if you do well, maybe and they have that same exact job available again sometime, maybe they'll bring you back, but otherwise you're forgotten. But what you said was something super important, which is, and this is, if I had to give some advice to small, medium-sized folks, having been a startup founder myself, is to try and find out what the real problems are, find out the people you're working with, and even cast a wider net of people that you're working with, and find out what keeps them up at night, find out what's really going on, and try to provide some solutions and help solving those problems, so that you're seen more as someone they'll call, even if the problem doesn't directly relate to your current, let's call it consulting, your product mix, because they're like, "Hey, you'll help me no matter what, and you'll connect me with other people, and you're a smart person." So that's what I was talking about, and it's a really good point you make, and that's how we at Chang Robotics, with Rockwell, with one of the largest healthcare organizations, with large packaged goods companies, we've become strategic partners.
Don, when I think of robotics, I'm thinking of like an Amazon warehouse. I'm thinking of a big manufacturing. I'm thinking of 20,000 square feet. Can you give us some real examples on how robotics can come into place with smaller firms?
Yes. So automation really is just thinking about your business in new ways and looking at how technology could enhance I'll call it the productivity of your current team. So whether you're a small or medium-sized business or a large enterprise business, you're thinking about those things all of the time. So what I think of as our focus is that we moved from a service model of being an engineering services company, a job shop in a lot of ways, to developing our own intellectual property. And that pivot allowed us to scale. And we stood up four different companies: Kodiak Tech in 2021, Go Eco in 2022, Robotics in 2024, and Robot Studio also in that same year. And so now we actually have products and patents behind each one of these companies.
Are you filing the patents?
We did file patents ourselves, and we're very, very active in intellectual property and developing. Now, we do have licenses with universities too. Okay. So Matt was super smart to say, hey, we want to harness all of that brain power as best we can in ways that will help Chang Robotics and our clients. And so Tim, my counterpart, is an engineering PhD, and his name is Tim Wei. He's our chief technologist. And Tim works closely with Northwestern University, with Georgia Tech and others. And we do simulations when we're first working on new stuff with a university partner. Those are just examples. But Go Eco, this is a barrier product, a barrier property that replaces PFAS. Those are those microplastics that everyone's talking about as a huge health issue. Well, this Go Eco is graphene oxide. We have a license with Northwestern. Dr. Tim Wei manages that. And we've done similar things with other universities, we have a medical product right now with Brigham Young University that we're developing. So yes, we're developing IP and we're launching these companies, and we actually have a venture fund. We've invested in so many of these different companies and other people's ideas. We actually decided to launch a venture fund, and we, the name is the Chang Robotics Fund. So we didn't come up with maybe the coolest name, but we've deployed about $10 million of capital into 9 different companies. And the whole idea is we're going to get a 10x return, maybe not 100x, but a 5 to 10x return on these companies, because they're all potentially strategic sales, and they all should happen within the next 2 or 3 years. Wow. And our engineering on Chang Robotics is helping power. It's sort of the Intel chip inside of all these companies to help them get to a strategic partner sale, or potentially, becoming a lot more profitable.
So let's unpack this for a second, because right now the big shift is reshoring manufacturing here. We don't want things made in China. Mm-hmm. It's the administration's agenda, right? So that opens up a huge opportunity for you guys, right? Because if we could automate things, we could actually maybe compete at a better wage rate than with China right now. But what misconceptions are you seeing from old school manufacturers that don't want to adopt automation yet?
So there is something called, and the professor will know this, pioneering costs. Nobody wants to shoulder those. Those are where the idea is these cobots or robots will help us be more efficient. And right now we got a bunch of conveyor belts, and we've got what really was a 30, 40, 50-year-old solution still operating in a lot of our largest manufacturers. So how are we going to get through the valley of death, we call it, of the pioneering costs? Who are going to pay for those to really become, let's call it, the world's best technology manufacturing location? And that's how it's going to scale, because we know that our wage rates are not competitive with Vietnam. They're not competitive with some other countries that are growing right now in the manufacturing area. So we need to figure out new and better ways to do that. And yes, Chang Robotics is at the forefront of that. And we're super excited to figure that out. But it's always, we start with a feasibility study. That might be anywhere between $70,000 to $90,000 for a company. So not a lot of companies want to do that, but we will go in deep for 6 weeks and we'll say, here's your technology roadmap. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what your CapEx budget is likely to be. And here's how it's going to, most importantly, here's how it's going to pay out. And that's how someone like me has a place with all these Georgia Tech engineers and everyone else in making these plans viable, and you move from the feasibility to an implementation.
So me and Luigi, we're in the lending space, the funding space, and there are new programs popping up every day and tax incentives for this CapEx spend, right? I mean, the SBA just launched a brand new program so people can actually go out there and do it. And look, truth be told, if they don't do it, they're going to be left behind within the next 5 to 10 years.
So true. Yeah, you really nailed this, and I'll tell you why. Because this administration is going to make it very painful for anyone who uses the traditional style of, let's go overseas and, let's produce it at the lowest per unit cost and then bring it back to this market to sell. That's exactly what they're, focused on disincentivizing. I just made up that word. Okay. And so
Sounded good. Sounded good.
You've nailed that. You've nailed that. And these programs, whether it's the SBA one that you mentioned, or whether it's a sovereign wealth fund from the Trump administration or something, it's going to hopefully provide money to get over that chasm that, I'll call it the valley of death, where you got to pay those pioneering costs to become world competitive. But more importantly, you become world competitive price-wise per unit. So in the case of this barrier product called graphene oxide, it has to be less, the same or less of what a PFAS barrier used to be. Remember when you used to spray your shoes with 3M stuff?
Of course.
That stuff is very bad for you. Okay.
Yeah, you have suede shoes. You want to make sure they're waterproof.
Yeah. And all the things that make, we found that graphene oxide through testing not only is as cheap as prior solutions to keeping oil and butter or, wetness from seeping through the packaging, but it strengthens especially corrugated boxes, but also all kinds of packaging material. And it's compostable. It's completely sustainable. That's the technology that was developed in conjunction with Northwestern University that became this product.
What is it made out of? What's the underlying substance?
Graphene oxide. That is the product. Graphene oxide is, it's carbon based.
Okay.
And it is, you can't believe it. You know how you could imagine dropping water and oil onto a substance and seeing it absorbed, right? That's what would happen in Starbucks if we get a croissant, it's made of butter, and you walk out and 10 minutes later or 15 minutes later, it's seeped through the paper. And the graphene oxide is amazing in terms of being able to, stop any of that from, and there's no transfer to anything. And
have
so
you been able to
it's amazing.
manufacture it to a point where it's so cost effective that it can be used for bags at grocery stores and also nail polish? I mean, is it mass producible at this point?
It is. We're working on with partners to do that, and a lot of them are household names. I'd like to tell you, but right now it's kind of in that phase where our goal is that graphene oxide will become the de facto standard barrier product for.
And we don't have to worry about all
packaging
the
in the future.
microplastics going into our intestines.
Yeah, so we don't do the, so your kids and your grandkids don't have microplastics. I have heard, and again, I'm not that kind of doctor. I am a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. I heard that it is potentially as dangerous as cholesterol in your system, all those microplastics, especially with our little kids.
Wow.
Because they've grown up with water bottles, heating everything in plastic. I could go on. But anyway, I didn't come here to talk about that. You probably didn't, but that's a company that was developed out of this new business model, which isn't just engineering services. It's let's take a look at big problems that could change the world, or let's work with top folks in their categories to create solutions that are gonna change the world and are gonna make those companies more profitable. I mean, we're out there. We are not just talking about doing good. I mean, our company philosophy is we call ourselves go-givers and not give-to-getters.
Where does that come from? Because
we're doing this to make money. We're doing this to make money. We want our partners to make money. We want our team to be compensated at above the average, at towards the top of the rate. And that's the kind of company we're trying to build. And we're trying, and so far it's going good.
Where's that come from? Because as a firm, you folks are punching way above your weight. But not only are you punching above your weight, you have this almost gospel-like mandate. Where's that come from? Does that come from leadership?
It does come from leadership.
Okay.
It does. So for instance, we talked about the growing workforce crisis, say nurses in healthcare, or in e-commerce, some of these e-commerce facilities. Not everyone wants to, move boxes and be in the supply chain, so to speak. So these autonomous solutions, we think are going to help those companies be more profitable, but more importantly, we think it's going to give more meaning to individuals who work at some of these tasks right now.
So
whether you're a nurse, you're doing more patient care and working. If you're in the Amazon warehouse, you're doing more thinking and implementing and figuring things out rather than just moving the box and doing the kinds of things that are remedial and just purely, task oriented. So
I have two questions for you. First, what size companies do you work with for the audience listening? Because we may have some manufacturers that are listening right now, and they may think they're too small to work with you guys. So what is the right fit for you?
So the right fit is usually mid-sized companies that are punching above their weight, as you said. They have to have a risk appetite to want to do something that will differentiate them from their competition. But I think you'd be surprised how reasonable versus other engineering companies we are, especially large ones, because we have unique contracts where we share the intellectual property developed when we work with a company. We actually charge less per hour to have that right to do that. And I think that's a unique thing. So we do work with small companies, even some startups, because we're able to, come in really competitive.
Now, the fund, the Chang Robotics fund, are you guys actively raising capital for that fund? Is it closed now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've raised about 11 million so far. Our goal, we've been doing it for almost 9 months. We launched it in January. It hasn't been an easy time to raise money because of the tariffs and other political changes and just people on the sidelines wondering what's going to go on with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of folks, and it's our first time fund. So you guys are veterans. When you go out there and you're a first time fund, that's the first thing family office tells you, or this is your first fund, right? And so it's their way of kind of letting you down easy. But we're going to close this fund. It won't be our first fund anymore. And there's going to be Chang Robotics Fund 2 in 2026 sometime, and or 2027. And so, this is an exciting time because guess what? We have always been investing in companies that we think strategically we might work synergistically with. And these companies we've invested in the Chang Robotics Fund are exactly that. And our goal isn't just to, have a few big wins, but it's to help every one of these companies with their engineering so that we have zero write-downs.
Can you give the audience, how big is Chang Robotics for people that have never heard of you before?
Yeah, so we're about, we're tracking towards a $15 million run rate per year, but we work on projects with enterprise clients, and we're trending to become a 30 or even $40 million firm within the next 18 months.
Okay.
So we're growing very, very fast. And we opened up an office in Denver. We have one in Jacksonville. We have a lot of people who work remotely. I work out of the Salt Lake City market. And we have a great team. We put our team up against anyone 3-4 times our size. And that's how we've been growing, in addition to the fact that, we love what we do. And I think that shows. And so EY nominated Matt as Entrepreneur of the Year. He was a finalist, but didn't win this year. But Inc. Magazine and Fast Company named us one of the top industrial AI companies.
That's wonderful.
In the world. So you can check that out. Those are both 2024, very recent. It's a demonstration of our growth and our commitment to excellence.
Did Chang Robotics raise any money? Did they do a Series A? Did they do a seed round? How did they get started off the ground?
It is, it's totally self-founder funded. And I'm included in that.
Okay.
I have invested in Chang Robotics, and I am a partner in Chang Robotics. And our goal is, there's always possibility of where that might go. But we're having too much fun to exit. We've had several offers in terms of what I call more like a strategic sale. Mm-hmm. But we're having too much fun and loving what we're doing to sell at this point.
Don, I don't know if you realize this, but Matt and I are both originally from New York City, and you can't walk 50 paces without bumping into a basketball court. So Matt and I may have some experience on the hard court. I mean, Matt is pretty good at boxing out, and I've been known to have a decent finger roll. So here's an idea. Get your brother Robert out of retirement, okay?
Yeah.
Matthew's middle name is Roberts. We'll put the Roberts on one side, you and I on the other. We'll have a nice little 2-on-2 in Salt Lake City, and you find a nice steakhouse where we could celebrate afterwards.
I would love that. I have my grandkids challenged me to go out and hit some 3-point shots, and they said, "Hey, Grandpa, I don't think you can do that." So I literally turned the video on. I ran out, dribbled, taking a couple dribbles, and shot 3 from 3, all 3 down. I ran back down. This is literally last week, okay, and sent it to them. They couldn't believe it. And hey, when I played at University of San Diego, they didn't have a 3-point shot. That's how old I am.
Whoa!
There was no 3-point, and so my stats are like less than 6 points a game.
They were in basketball
at
net.
USD.
They were bushels.
But
yeah, and I think with the 3-point line, I could have been in double figures.
So I was at opening game for the Magic last night. Me and my daughter have season tickets.
Yeah.
We go, right? That's all people take these days are 3-point shots. I think they're going to incorporate a 4-point shot because it's getting way too easy. I mean, you got Steph Curry shooting from the other hoop and landing it. It's just, it makes the game not as interesting, to be honest with you.
I agree with you, but I'm very old school, Matt. So you and I, but here's the thing: you box out, and that is an underappreciated skill. And positioning and on rebounding, those kinds of things, you don't get accolades now for doing those kinds of things.
Nobody on offense rebounds anymore. They take their shot, it bounces and it just goes down the court again. Look, when you made your brand, you were a premium streetwear. Like, let's get in there, let's drive in. We're dunking, right? That was the time of the dunking.
Yes,
we're going inside.
Yes,
right. The dunk contest just launched, so that was like, let's get inside and play. And it was a physical sport. Now everybody's crying to the refs on a 3-point shot.
Oh, I hate that. I will tell you, I had one moment of glory, very small. I was playing against UC Irvine up at Irvine that particular year. Nobody's heard of these guys. They're called the Anteaters. So who has heard of UC Irvine? But they had a guy named Keith McGee that year who was the nation's leading scorer at the time. And, having this was above the rim, but that game, I had 3 dunks in the game. One maybe wasn't over Keith McGee, but close. And so that was, one little moment that I can remember. And let's just say I had a lot of moments of shame. Also, I'll tell you one. Quentin Daly from USF, who was an NBA player and kind of blew things out. I don't know how, but unbelievably talented. He shot a jumper. I literally looked at his crotch. Okay, he was up so high, and I kind of must have been in awe because it bounced off the back of the rim, and he dunked over me on the rebound. He missed the shot and dunked over me, on the rebound.
And above the rim was formed.
And there you and I played against John Stockton all the time because we were in that conference, and he was always giving me some. Let's just say he's given me a few punches in places that maybe.
Yeah, my uncle played against Stockton too. He was on UNCC at the time. I think that was the Sun Belt Conference back then.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of that old school talk.
Don, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell the audience where they can get in touch with you, find Chang Robotics, and get some information on the fund if they're interested?
Yeah. So my first initial D, and then my last name, Capener at changrobotics.ai is my email address. Please email me, and would love to hear from folks. Really enjoyed this opportunity to talk to both of you. You guys have a great podcast going.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We actually enjoyed this conversation. I do have one question before I let you run. Give me a time frame, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years before robots enter the home. And I'm not talking about Roombas. I'm talking about who's doing my laundry.
So companies like Figure and Elon Musk's company are saying that they'll be able to do kind of those kinds of things within 5 years. But the thing Matt Chang, is that they don't have right now the solution to making it affordable and having the kind of power that's needed to do your laundry and, clean and do all the things that we would want them to do. Now, between now and then, there's going to be a lot better ways to clean your floor than there are now, or a lot better ways to do individual tasks. And those innovations will happen over the next 3 years. And so a lot of things that will be affordable will happen. The question is whether the humanoid in your home is going to be both affordable and really worthwhile.
Matt's waiting for Rosie.
I'm waiting for Rosie. I've been waiting for Rosie for 44 years.
Just
Love
a little less frumpy.
Don, thank you so much. Everybody, that's a wrap. The Liquid Lunch Project. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Let's go!